Hello and welcome to another episode of Taylor Talks Comics. Today we're going to celebrate the life and career of Neal Adams. Okay, so all comic book fans found out the other day that Neal Adams tragically passed away at the age of 80, and he is becoming one of my favorite artists of all time. The more I see his work, the more that it just climbs up that list, and I continue to collect a lot of it for that reason. And I just want to show off today, this is going to be a two-part video. I'm going to show off a few collected editions where you can see his work for fans of Neal Adams or maybe new comic book fans that haven't quite dabbled in Neal Adams' artwork and are curious to see what the hubbub is about why people are saying like this guy is one of the greats of all time, because he truly is. So I wanted to showcase some of his artwork and where you can find it easily right now. So this is just a little cap for this first part video. I'm going to do a Marvel video today and then a DC video later. I have a couple DC books coming in that I want to show off. But I wanted to cap this because I think this is his magna opus, if you will. But this is a great book and I will definitely show that off at a later time. So the thing that makes Neal Adams great, I think, is that to me, one thing that I'm not going to talk about today but should be said is just like the work he did for the industry and for creators. The fights that he did to get Jack Kirby's artwork back, to get Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster their credit for Superman, and then continuing on for creator rights from there. That's like a Hall of Fame career in itself, even if he didn't do any artwork in the industry. But then his artwork itself is another Hall of Fame career. So it's just kind of one of those guys that had like multiple Hall of Fame careers within the industry. And another thing is that he's truly the bridge, the gap that bridges together the Silver Age to the Bronze Age, in my opinion. He was there during the Silver Age is where he got his start, and his artwork was like this amazing thing. Like we had the Jack Kirby's and the Carmine Infantinos and the Steve Ditko's in the Silver Age. And then we had this guy, Neal Adams, come along. And then he showed the way and paved the road for guys that he even mentored, like Bill Sienkiewicz, guys like Paul Gulacy, Howard Chaykin, that would go on to be pinnacles, Frank Miller, to be pinnacles and pioneers and pillars of the Bronze Age. So he really bridges that gap. And I think that's one thing that's part of his legacy I think people need to understand. So, this is the X-Men Omnibus Volume 2 that has recently got reprinted. This is the Silver Age Omnibus. And this has, I think, 8 issues of his X-Men work in it. And this is really an underrated omnibus. I think people kind of dismiss Silver Age X-Men as being like, okay, that's that thing that, yes, it existed, but then it really doesn't start until Uncanny Giant Size X-Men #1 with Lynn Wein and Dave Cockrum and those guys. So I'm trying to flip to, I have my markers here but I can't get to the page. But there are a lot of gems in the early area of X-Men, and one of those is the run that Neal Adams had with Roy Thomas. This is post Kirby, post Don Heck, post Werner Roth, all kind of working on the X-Men. And then Neal Adams and Roy Thomas kind of elevate it to a level that serves as a precursor to what we would see in the Claremontian era of X-Men with Dave Cockrum and John Byrne and those sorts. So this is the first issue he did the interiors of. This is issue number 56. And Marvel did do a Treasury-sized, oversized edition of just the run of Neal Adams issues where he did the interiors with Roy Thomas doing the writing. But this is collected in this omnibus. So I just want to show off some Neal Adams artwork within this. And this is one thing that he really brought to the table too. One thing that he, I don't know if innovated, but definitely became the big name that would do this, and these big splashes. This was not common in the Silver Age. And you would go on to see guys like Paul Galassi and Gene Day really kind of push the envelope on similar layouts and stuff like that in Master of Kung Fu. And I think they had to have been inspired by Neal Adams. Another thing that Neal Adams brought to the table with his artwork was just the realism in his style. I think that's Werner Roth right there. There's more Neal Adams. The realism in his style. So he was famous for saying that and I got to give props to Omnidog, Just Brag, Omnidog's Vault, one of my favorite YouTube channels. Him and I know he's a huge Neal Adams fan. Most of what I've learned about Neal Adams, I learned probably from him and his channel, because he grew up during the Silver Age and was grabbing these issues off the racks. And he just, I know he cites Hard Traveling Heroes as one of his favorite comics of all time. So major props to him. But he did a couple episodes on Neal Adams recently on Omnibros and on his own channel, Omnidog's Vault. But he quoted Neal Adams, because Neal Adams would often say that he drew superheroes the way they would look in the real world. So if you wanted to see, and I got to think, this was a precursor to Alex Ross. So Alex Ross, here's more Werner Roth backup pages. Alex Ross came in the 90s with Kurt Busiek doing Marvels. And when he came onto the scene, it was mind-blowing. The painted artwork that he did that looked like it was photographs. Had that Norman Rockwell type of style to his artwork. This is kind of the precursor of it, and I think the bridge of that, because I enjoyed this art style more than Alex Ross, and I'm not trying to put down Alex Ross, but because it does look realistic, the emotions on people's faces, which is again a precursor to Kevin Maguire in the JLI run. And I'm just trying to name drop these people because these were people that had to have been obviously influenced by Neal Adams. But just the facial expressions, the emotions in people's faces, Kirby was great at that. I think one of my favorite things about Kirby is when he has the screaming crowd facing the camera in terror, and it shows you from your point of view what you would be looking at. But Neal Adams took that to another level, and just these incredible, Havoc was a character that he worked on a lot, and I mean Havoc's never looked different. That every artist since Neal Adams has kind of taken that from him. But just the raw emotions on people's faces, the credible page layouts that he would have. This is a famous picture, and that's the cover of the Treasury Edition I spoke about before, and it actually serves as the kind of the intro paper on this omnibus. But that's Cyclops, and you hear people say the praise Frank Quitely with All-Star Superman, and how he was able to hunch Superman over to show him some humanity and that kind of thing. You see that with Neal Adams' work, just in this pose alone. This is not your typical dynamic superhero pose. This shows a superhero in anguish, and you don't need this fancy blurb of Cyclops might die in this issue. This alone is you're seeing his ripped costume, hunched over. He's in peril. That's the kind of realism that they're talking about with Neal Adams, and this. That's such a classic Neal Adams splash page, and he took that. I think a lot of his splash pages too, the opening splashes. I've always heard there's backlash against him, and he wanted to do a lot of the Jack Cole and Will Eisner opening splash pages that incorporated the title of the issue into the artwork, that kind of thing. But there's a lot of backlash. This is Silver Age art. This is published in the early 70s, this work right here. I guess it's just before the Bronze Age, but this is just incredible work. And then, so he does like issues. Sorry, I'm trying to get to the last issue he did. All right, so he does issues, I think it's 56 through 63, and then it takes an issue off. Don Heck does an issue in between. And then he does, this is his final X-Men issue that he does, Neal Adams. And it's just incredible to me that this series ended up getting canceled when Neal Adams was doing this incredible artwork that was like mind-blowing. I mean, I can't imagine what this looked like for comic book fans back in the day. But yeah, so this is the X-Men Volume 2 Omnibus. If you want some great Neal Adams artwork and some fun X-Men stories that people don't talk about enough, I'd recommend picking that up. The next thing he did for Marvel was work on the Inhumans. So Jack Kirby was constantly trying to get an Inhumans series put together. There's stories that he wrote full issues, did the artwork for full issues, and they just never even got published. There's stories at the 10 issues that incorporate this series that I'm going to go over that he had to rework a lot of those 22-page issues that he did into 10-page strips. But Neal Adams does 4 issues within this run. So this run here, this is Beware of the Inhumans. This is a thick trade paperback that came out a few years ago, and it might be out of print, but it's still pretty easy to find. I'd recommend picking this one up. There's 2 of these. The first one's the Origins of the Inhumans, and this is Beware the Inhumans. And they're both as thick as like the Marvel Epic collections. And there's about 400 pages, 300 to 400 pages of each. And so it's about 350. Of the Inhumans, the Origins of the Inhumans includes all of the like appearances of the Inhumans within the issues of Fantastic Four and Thor. This one shows like the first solo series they had. And it wasn't quite a solo series because they had to share real estate on the comics rack. Oh, well, that's a great Steranko piece. Steranko, who influenced Neal Adams as well. Talk about influences. Try and get through the first Bizarre Adventures. Okay, well, typical for these videos. Okay, so Amazing Adventures. This was the comic book that the Inhumans had their own solo series in, but they shared it with Black Widow. So you pick up issue number 1 of Amazing Adventures, you get 10 pages of Inhumans, 10 pages of Black Widow. This trade paperback only includes all the covers and then the 10 pages that the Inhumans appear on. If you want the Black Widow content, it's not done by Neal Adams, but just to let you know, it's in the Black Widow Omnibus as well as the 2 Black Widow Epic collections. So Jack Kirby did issues 1 through 4, and then issues 9 and 10, I believe. Issue 5 through 8 were done by Neal Adams. So this is the first issue that Neal Adams did, and I hope one day we get an Inhumans omnibus because there's so much Jack Kirby work and Neal Adams work to show oversized, just like I showed you on the X-Men book. So this is the first splash page, great image of Black Bolt. And again, this is so different than Kirby. I'm the biggest Kirby fan. Like, I love anything Jack Kirby does, but I'm not going to turn away incredible Neal Adams artwork. Like, again, just the emotion you see on those people's faces. Like, it's just so raw and real. And then, like, this hunched over, bent over look of Black Bolt, just showing you the humanity in this Inhuman that's like superpowers. And it's like storytelling at its finest. Like, this is like comic book storytelling without, like, you don't need words to show what Neal Adams is showing you in these images. And those are the great comic book artists. Of course, then you need the words to enhance the story. But what I'm saying is just seeing the different emotions on people's faces, the rawness, the realism. Another great splash page. This is a little bit of the Jack Cole, Will Eisner incorporating the title of the issue within the artwork that he liked to do a lot. And I believe this is issue 9. So did I already show that last issue? Oh my gosh. I put markers in these books, to make these videos fly better. Oh, that was the last issue. Okay. No, It wasn't. I put these markers in here to make it easy, and then it doesn't become easy. Okay, there we go. Issue 8. This is the last issue. Just really showing heroes in ways that we never saw before. And it's just incredible. So those are the issues of Inhumans that you can see Neal Adams did. Then Neal Adams did one issue of Conan. So this is Conan Barbarian Epic Collection number volume 3. He does one issue of Conan in here. And this is during the Roy Thomas, John Buscema run of Conan. So Roy Thomas obviously started off with Barry Windsor Smith on Conan, and then Big John Buscema took over. Well, there's one issue in here where Neal Adams did a fill-in for Big John. It's issue number 37. It's called The Curse of the Golden Skull. It's such a big deal. They even talk about it on the back here saying, and Neal Adams stops to illustrate the Curse of the Golden Skull, teaming Conan with Juma against the wicked sorcerer, Rototh. I probably butchered those character names, but I'm a very new fan to Conan, but I've collected all the epics. I'm going to go through them. But here's more great Neal Adams artwork. We've seen him do mutants, we've seen him do cosmic superheroes, and now we're seeing him do a barbarian. But the thing that ties all those together are the awesome panel layouts and the raw emotion on people's faces that you see. So yeah, this epic collection only includes one issue of Neal Adams' work, but I wanted to show it off for you guys. Then we move on to Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. So Neal Adams was getting up there. He was kind of one of those primo artists, kind of a boutique artist within the comic book industry, if such a thing exists. And he was doing a lot of covers because his artwork was that sought after. Kind of like an early Alex Ross. Alex Ross he has done interiors, but he's known probably more for his cover artwork than anything. So this book just contains Neal Adams covers, but I wanted to show them off because they're awesome. And they're Neal Adams doing Kung Fu. Again, we've seen mutants, we've seen cosmic, we've seen barbarians. Now we're seeing Neal Adams do Kung Fu. That's just showing you the range here. So this was Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. This omnibus, there's 2 volumes of this, and they just collect the 31 issue, I believe, magazine that Marvel put out called The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. And these collect the entirety, every page of the magazine within them. But today we're looking at just the covers of the ones that Neal Adams did. So there's a sweet Bruce Lee cover. The first issue was dedicated to Bruce Lee and has a lot of articles about Bruce Lee within it because Bruce Lee passed away right before this came out. This was like right at the height of the Kung Fu buzz. Right when Kung Fu was becoming popular. I believe my dates are, I'm not a Bruce Lee historian, I could have that wrong, but right around the time that it was passing, and this is a whole article dedicated to him, but Neal Adams did this cover. And then he does the cover for issue number 2. This one is a Shang-Chi cover. Shang-Chi was obviously a character that was showcased heavily within this magazine, as well as Iron Fist. But this is Neal Adams doing Shang-Chi. And then this is issue number 3. This is him doing Jim Kelly. Now, Jim Kelly was a prominent figure within the Kung Fu film industry and was like a hot buzz actor. People were saying he could be the next Bruce Lee. He even kind of had some gumption about him and talked about things, how he's going to become bigger than the biggest star in Hollywood and whatnot. Didn't come to fruition, but he has some really cool Kung Fu movies that you should check out. And then we have Neal Adams doing this cover here. Another great cover. And then that's issue number 4. I think the next issue he does is 11. So this is, we see a little bit of Western Kung Fu, a little bit of precursor to Walker, Texas Ranger. We see a cool cover here with special Billy Jack. And the painting done on these covers really shows off, like I said, the influence too, like an Alex Ross. And then the last issue he did was 17. Oh, did he do this one? Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is issue number 12. Never mind. He has 2 more issues. This one has James Bond, Invades Martial Arts. So now we have Neal Adams doing James Bond on the cover. which is really awesome. And then the last one, him doing Bruce Lee. In Search of Bruce Lee, with the scene right out of Enter the Dragon. You get some cool scratches all over Bruce Lee that you would know from that movie, that film. And that's the last cover that Neal Adams did for Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. Last one I'm going to show off today for Marvel, and he did other Marvel work, but these are just books that you can collect that has his work in it. This is a Treasury Edition, so this is bigger. I've shown this off. I've done my own video on this particular story. You can check it out in my catalog, but just show you the different size here, comparison. This is your trade paperback. Maybe, I'm trying to get the color contrast there. It's wider and taller than it, so you really get to see Neal Adams' artwork in a big way. Here's an omnibus comparison. So it's taller than and still wider than an omnibus even. And also this will be the same trim size of the Neal Adams Roy Thomas X-Men hardcover Treasury or Gallery edition. I don't know what the formal name is for that edition, but it is the same trim size. This is like the last interior artwork comic book story that Neal Adams did. I think recently it came out that his last published work was inking a 2-page spread of Rob Liefeld's Snake Eyes comic book. But this is his last like interiors. And this is an awesome, everyone should buy this. Because it shows that Neal Adams, I mean, we've shown artwork from him dating back to the 60s all the way now to present. This just came out last year. This was in my top 10 list of best collected edition reprints last year, as well as, it would have been my top 10 of the year, but a couple issues came out in 2020. But again, so a 60-year career and he's doing this incredible artwork. And it's still showing that raw emotion on the faces, still that great rendering that you know from Neal Adams. And this is just a must-own for anyone that's a Fantastic Four fan, anyone that's a Neal Adams fan, or Mark Waid, because Mark Waid is the writer on this particular 4-issue series. And then in the back, we get this one issue of X-Men, because this was the first time Neal Adams ever drew Fantastic Four. He was never the artist on Fantastic Four. Much to my chagrin as a Fantastic Four fan, I would have loved a great run by Neal Adams. But in the back of these Treasury editions, they reprint 2 issues. One's the Mark Waid, Mike Wieringo Fantastic Four issue, and the other one didn't have a Fantastic Four issue for Neal Adams to reprint, so they did this issue 65 of X-Men that we just showed off. And I already showed it off, but it's included as well. So this is a great thing to buy if you're wanting some Neal Adams artwork. But yeah, Neal Adams was incredibly influential on the comic book industry in a number of ways. Like I said, creator rights, artwork, mentoring future artists. And I think he deserves to be celebrated. And it's just tragic that he passed away. And I think that that's all the more reason we should celebrate him today and going forward every day. But again, these are the collected editions. You can find some Neal Adams artwork from Marvel within them. But thank you for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up, like and subscribe. Comment down below with your favorite issues of Neal Adams that you want to see. Maybe I can show them off on the channel, or maybe you just want to talk about it. But yeah, thank you guys for watching.